The Speaker.
Member for Faisabad.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and welcome back to the Chamber. Just before the break, I was asking about a few of the initiatives in the Ministry of Public Administration and seeking some answers. And we were on the issue of the Open Government Partnership. And I'm informed that Trinidad and Tobago is one of the first CARICOM states to join this Open Government Partnership. And the question is, are we still a member? And perhaps I could get that answer through the Minister or Acting Minister of Public Administration. With regards to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the virtual contact centers, if I can get an update status on that, as to where we are with that. And there's also the issue of the Human Resource Modernization Renewal Trust within the Ministry of Public Administration. And, you know, the documents speak to the new public service officer and they speak to the management support officer. And I know these terms have been bandied about in successive presentations in the budget. And therefore, I'd want to find out again where we exactly in terms of the implementation of these new categories of staff to modernize the public service. We also looking, in terms of looking at other initiatives that can increase productivity and efficiency in the delivery of public services, the issue of flexi time, the issue of hot desking. I believe that some of these were introduced, and I would want to know whether they are still still being used, they're still being operated. I'm told that because of issues with supervision, that some of the flexi time arrangements have been discontinued. That's the situation where some people will come to work early and leave earlier. So you have, better utilization of office and time and so on. One of the other issues that can improve productivity, of course, is the decentralization of government offices. And I would want to know what is the government's intention in terms of trying to move some of the government offices perhaps out of Port of Spain. I know there's been some movement in that direction. I think it's also important until such time as we can solve the transportation issues on our roads with the difficulty in getting to work, especially for those who live in South and having to reach to work in Port of Spain. That's really a major challenge. And some consideration, of course, should be given. I know we've spoken about changes to the speed limit and the transportation bill and so on. But there's also the issue of perhaps creating what we call an HOV, or high occupancy vehicle lane, in the highways coming to Port of Spain. That's something that could perhaps ease in getting people to work. One of the other issues I would want to raise as well is that I know some officers, field officers in the public service, even though they go out in the field, they have to report back to the office at the end of the day, and whether consideration can be given to these officers producing their report, perhaps, from home, rather than have to face the traffic going back to the offices. I just, looking at the budget, with regards to the development program.
Member for Faisabad.
Make a good speech and pick a corner.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order. Order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I just wanted to draw attention to the development program and looking at the estimates going from 2016 to 2018, but with particular reference to the 2018 in terms of the development program. I note that there was an item of an implementation of an ICT plan, which the estimate was 5.8 million in 2017, but there was no expenditure incurred at all in 2017, so perhaps there can be an explanation for that. I also note allocations for the e-government and knowledge brokering program and the establishment of a virtual call center in the public service. There have been no allocations, no expenditure last year, and no expenditure budgeted this year, and perhaps there's a very good reason for that. Again, I would want to seek information as to what's the status of these services.
Would the member give way?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Members, some of those projects have become legacy projects, and what we've been attempting to do is move them from the DP onto the recurrent because of the length of time that they have been in existence. So some of those that you're asking about have been moved to the recurrent expenditure. So they're no longer a project. So they may not be appearing on the books. Okay?
I thank the member for her response. Thank you very much. One of the other issues is the modernization of institutions. And again, I quote from the Minister of Public Administration in his last budget debate, Madam Speaker, when he said that as one of the core strategies to address this manpower issue, the ministry is collaborating with the Public Service Commission and the Service Commission's department in a major initiative to strengthen and modernize those institutions. So again, I would want to find out exactly where we are with these institutional strengthening projects, because time and again we have the issue being raised of challenges with the Public Service Commission and the service commissions in terms of filling vacancies in the public sector. So I look forward to these answers. With regards to the technology and the provision of Wi-Fi and so on for citizens, I know that some of the smart centers were started a few years ago. I know under the previous regime, 4 centers had started. There was supposed to be another 4, and I look forward to an update as to how far we are, how many of these centers have now been operationalized in Trinidad and Tobago. With regards again to the Ministry of Public Administration and Communications, I just wanted to make a point with regards to the closure or the proposed closure of CNMG and the reversion to TTT, and to seek further information. I know that that has been mentioned, and to seek further clarification as to the rationale as to why this is happening. To me, it sounds as you're closing one company to start a new company, which is basically going to serve the same function, but perhaps the government has a reason, and perhaps we can get an explanation as to why that is being done. What I would be concerned about is that you would be letting go employees from CNMG with no guarantee of these employees being re-employed with a new company, TTT. And therefore, I look forward to the explanation and the rationale as to why this would have been done. Madam Speaker, I would just want to move across very briefly to touch 2 issues in health, and one of these concerns the distribution and the availability of drugs and supplies, which is, an issue that many constituents would come to my constituency office concerned about, and to ask the Minister of Health, perhaps for an explanation. When one looks at the budget allocations for drugs and other related materials and supplies, and if you will permit me to quote, Madam Speaker, that item in 2016 was just over $600 million, $626 million. 2017 would have been $508 million, and 2017, these are the expenditure, would have been $564,000. I see there is an increased expenditure estimate for 2018. But just to indicate as to why we still seem to be having challenges in terms of the supply of drugs and other supplies in the hospitals, whether it is a procurement problem. I know the Minister has indicated that this matter was being addressed, and I look forward to an update on that matter. The other matter I would want to mention in passing, of course, is with regards to hospitals, and I look forward to the further construction, the continuing construction and completion of the Point Fortin Hospital. some of my constituents in Faizabad would live closer to that area and would access that hospital. But just as well, I would also want to ask as to what the status is with regards to the Couva Hospital. I know that the issue of the public-private partnership has been bandied about, has been thrown back and forth. I also want to raise that issue in the context of diversification, perhaps for medical tourism, and of course with the fact that we also have so many unemployed, over 200 unemployed doctors. So I again would look forward to the Minister's response with regards to that project. Madam Speaker, I would want to just raise a few issues now within the constituency of Faizabad and to bring to the attention of the Minister of Education and ask about the status of construction of the Siparia Union Presbyterian School. I know that school has been promised to the students who attend that school, and they have had the misfortune of having a fire just a few days ago. And if perhaps the Minister of Education can give an update and status as to where we are in terms of completing the Siparia Union Presbyterian School. Likewise, the Davie Avenue ECCE Center remains uncompleted. And Minister, I would want to get an update as to what is happening at the Davie Avenue. That's in Avocat. It's an ECCE center, which may be about, it looks like about 60–70% complete. So maybe we can get an update on that in your response, Minister. There's also a proposed Heroes Museum in Faizabad, which has been on the budget for several years. I note that there's been no allocation this year, so I'd want to get a response from the government as to what is the status and what are the plans with regards to that project. In terms of the diversification of the economy, Madam Speaker, in the constituency of Faizabad, there is the Urupuch Lagoon, which provides or has, is a great opportunity for ecotourism. The Minister of Agriculture would have visited the constituency and that very site a couple of months ago. So again, I would want to get from the government a response and an update as to where we are headed with that project. One of the other concerns with regards to the impact of the increase in the diesel and the fuel prices is with regards to the state of the fishing industry in the Otahiti area, which falls within the constituency of Faizabad. The fishermen have raised concerns as to how this will impact on their livelihood. And again, I would urge the Minister of Finance perhaps to look at whether that grouping can be given some sort of consideration with regards to the fuel pricing. So, Madam Speaker, the issue here with regards to public administration and the public service is that we are looking at a situation, as I mentioned earlier, where we are being asked to do more with less. I think that the government has a golden opportunity in these difficult circumstances to take the bull by the horn to ensure that the time has come to ensure that the efficiency and the effectiveness of the public sector, the public service is increased. I think there is no better opportunity than to do it now. And I would hope that the government has the strength. I'm sure that, we're asking for sacrifices all around. But I think it's important that we address the issue in the public service. As I mentioned, we are looking at a wage bill of over $10 billion annually, 25% of the budget. And I think if we lose this opportunity to improve this service, it will not happen. We'll never get that chance again. So with those few words, Madam Speaker, I would want to thank you very much for the opportunity. I thank you.
Member for Diego Martin Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the opportunity here to participate in this August House for the debate of the budget for 2017-2018. First of all, Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank God Almighty for giving us health and strength to be here this evening. I would like to congratulate and thank the Member of Parliament for Diego Martin West and Diego Martin Northeast, the Prime Minister, first of all, on his second year as Prime Minister, who has been charting this country through these economic challenges so far. And I want to thank the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Planning, Aruka Maloney, who has presented and worked tirelessly since April this year with all the ministers and all the stakeholders to get this budget here for us to present and go through. As is the start of the new fiscal year, I want to thank the members of the Parliament staff, including yourself, Madam Speaker, for last year and the last 2 years, and wish you all the best to ensuring that when we come here that everything is in place that we could do the people's business. I want to thank my staff at the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs for the past 2 years as well, and moving forward for the this year, fiscal year, that we could continue the successful work that we've been doing. Of course, I always say first and foremost, Madam Speaker, I'm a Member of Parliament for Diego Martin Central, and I want to thank the people of Diego Martin Central constituency, who I'm very close with, for the continual support. And I'm here to represent you, and I'll continue working as hard as I can to ensure that living in the constituency continues to improve. And I'd like to also thank my family for the support. As MPs and ministers here know, it's a difficult job, late hours, hard work, and they've been very willing to work with regards to that. I also want to send our prayers to our Member of Parliament for La Hoqueta Talparo. I wish him that he'll be back here with us soon and on his feet. I'm sure he's watching us wherever he is now. And finally, Madam Speaker, to all the countries that had issues within the last few months with regards to natural disasters, Dominica, Mexico, Sierra Leone, Puerto Rico, and the US. We want to send our prayers to all those countries, to all those who may have passed, all those who may not have a shelter over their head as we speak right now. We want to send our prayers, and we want to thank the Prime Minister for his vision for ensuring that Trinidad and Tobago is helping these people. Madam Speaker, I want to start on that note. The Minister of Culture, St. Anne's East, I know she would have had a part of it. You would have seen young people coming together last week to have a concert at the Queen's Park Oval to assist these people with a food drive. Again, you see this week and next week with sport, young people coming together for football and cricket at the Oval as well, and the USA games. So I want to encourage the members to try and attend these events and support our brothers and sisters at these events while they're being entertained with sport and so on. Madam Speaker, this is my third budget debate. And so far, work at the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, we've been doing our best. We're not perfect. Nobody in this room is perfect. We have never said that we're perfect. We all will make mistakes. We have made mistakes, and we'll continue to make mistakes as we go along. But the main emphasis is for us to come here to report what we have done within the last year, report to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and to explain what we have planned for the year to come, which we just started. And I feel sorry for the member for Port of Spain North St. Anne's West. He had to come here and use his time, where he's supposed to report also to his constituents with regards to what he's doing in his constituency. He's doing a lot of work in a number of ministries, Office of the Prime Minister, the AG's office, and he would have wanted to come here with a prepared presentation to discuss the work that he's been doing. And he had to come and diffuse a number of untruths that was spread by the member for Superior. And he spent all his time doing that. And it's really disheartening that we're still at that stage. I myself have to spend some time diffusing something that was said by Couva North, which I won't spend too much time. But I thought we would have reached a level of maturity now where we all work together. I think the Prime Minister have to be given kudos for hosting the Spotlight last week, Wednesday, which is something never done before. And for those who don't know, he was planning this since last year, right, to have something similar to this. So it wasn't to do with the budget at all. It was something that he planned to ensure that all the stakeholders of Trinidad and Tobago have an opportunity and a chance to come out and hear. Also for people to express themselves with regards to what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago and how, most importantly, we could put our minds and our hearts together to ensure that we come out of this hole that we're in. So kudos to the Prime Minister for that. Let me deal with Couva North one time so I could get to the business of Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs and Diego Martin Central. That project is called Northern, is the field. I grew up in Diego Martin, is in Diego Martin West, where the Prime Minister is the Member of Parliament. However, it's bordered by the Diego Martin Rain Road, which is across from Diego Martin Central and very close to Diego Martin Northeast. It's actually, when you look at it, it's almost at the center of the 3 Diego Martin constituencies. And that Bagatelle, you know it well. Well, Pointe-a-Pierre, as you all don't know, is my favorite constituency. He lives in Diego Martin Central. He's very comfortable there, right? But nevertheless, I played many football games and cricket there. It's a field that has been left for 10 years. Right? The foundation has been done. There's a contractor that was given the contract, SRI Construction, 10 years ago. When I was the chairman of the Diego Martin Regional Corporation 2-3 years ago, one of your ministers of sport, you all had so many, I think it was number 3 or 4, Brent Sancho I met with. And we went down there and we did a site visit and he promised to start the project back with the same contractor. He did the foundation, there's nobody else could have done it. And it was left again. Right? And my job as Minister of Sport, along with a number of other ministers here, is to clean up the ministries. It's not all about starting new projects. And I've spoken to a number of those on the other side, and they have shared that, and it's true to an extent. Starting a new project is difficult from scratch, from planning and stuff. However, going to a project that has been left for 10 years is even more difficult, including the Brian Lara Stadium, which I'll come to in a little while. But nevertheless, we came in 2015. We assessed all the projects that were incompleted in the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, and we decided to move forward with that project. We put $20 million to get the project started, and that was done. And what we did was, which we saw when we came in as well, a number of state agencies had a number of loans, billions of dollars when you add it up, Madam Speaker, that these state companies had, and Sport Company was one. I think they had as much as $300 or $400 million in loans, and it wasn't really earmarked for any major project. We took money from that loan, that answer loan, and we were able to put it, and it wasn't $200 million, Madam Speaker, it's $120 million, and it's going to be a fantastic facility, similar to what the Member of Parliament has in Superior with Irwin Park. As you know, she has a project that it was almost $200 million there. It's going to cost us $130 max. And it's going to be launched this year, Madam Speaker. So I just wanted to rest that so I can move on to the business of reporting. In Superior. Diego Martin North is in Diego Martin Main Road. Yeah. Madam Speaker, I want to start off with youth with my presentation. I'm going to report what we have done with you because for far too long, and it's not just Trinidad and Tobago, I've had the opportunity this year to go to the UN Youth Conference in New York earlier this year, and I was able to meet a number of Ministers of Sports, Minister of Youth, Education, and so on. And you'll be quite surprised to know that we set up a WhatsApp group and so on, and a number of countries and ministers are going through the same issues and situations that we are going through. In fact, a number of them, when they hear and they read and they see and we discuss what's going on here, they said they went through this teething problem 4 or 5 years ago, where the country was living at a level of comfort, whatever their resources may have been, and they had to come down to the economic crash worldwide. And we are now going through that with the realities of what this government has found coming in 2015. And it is a reality. I'm not here to blame the opposition. It's just a fact of the oil price, and we've been dependent of oil and gas for so long. You would have heard other speakers speak of that, and we intend for the next 3 or 4 days here the same discussion with regards to diversification. But the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, we've been working very closely with them, and we've been doing a number of programs throughout the length and breadth. The issue is, and I'm sure a number of members of Parliament here will tell you that on any given day I could get as much as 1,000 to 2,000 WhatsApps from all different people from across, from some of your constituents as well, all right, for whatever reason it may be. And a lot of it is negativity. For the first time, we've had to deal with fake news. There's a section in the newspaper that actually deals with fake news now. When you get something on your phone or on your internet, you actually have to ask, is this real? Or is this in Trinidad and Tobago or not? That's the times that we live in now, Madam Speaker. But we have been doing a lot for the young people, but for some reason, the media, we haven't been having the media coverage that we would have liked. And we don't have the budgets that the former government would have had to splurge on full-page ads and so on. We send press releases, we invite the media to come to a number of our youth events, and we don't get that coverage. So I'll just touch base. We are seeing the results, however. Some of your constituencies as well, we'll be seeing the results, and we continue to chug along and try our best. We hosted our annual Camp Vibe summer camp, which is throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. We had over 400 kids learning various skills, life skills and so on, agriculture, arts and craft. We sponsored the first ever Trinidad and Tobago Youth Convention. We have a young senator who's in charge of that, an independent senator, and we've been working closely with his organization. And this is the second year. Other ministries came in and got involved this year. At SPEC, I was invited this year, and Minister Garcia was there, and a number of others as well. We know that there's an issue with regards to rehabilitation at the prisons, and our Minister of National Security for Point Forty has been working very, very hard with the prison system, so much so he got in cabinet passed this year $50-something million to do some work at the prisons. I was able and was fortunate to work and go in there with a person that we all know, Mr. Clayton Morris, the former strike squad captain, who's doing a fantastic football program at the prisons right now, where we actually have murderers who would have been at each other's throats, who have a lot of influence on the outside, actually playing and working together and getting the younger kids in the prisons to play the game of sport. And we plan to expand that to the women's prison. And I'm guaranteeing this year that the Ministry of Sport will put aside money. We have already done that to ensure that that program gets help with regards to equipment. I've also attended a number of youth program graduations that we've been hosting throughout the country. We've had plumbing, we've had Latin dancing, decorating, linen and drapery. We have had YTEP utilizing a number of our facilities for classes and so on. So the youth facilities are being utilized to the max for the first time. We also signed with the government of Chile through the ambassador of Chile a program called Futsal Mas. The cabinet note was passed and we're finalizing to get that started before Christmas. And it's a program that has been going on in Latin America, Latin American countries, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, in the hot spots where we have former footballers, psychologists, social workers going into these hotspots where sometimes police can't even go in, and work with the young people through sport to teach them with regards to social sports workshops and life skills. And that has been going on for a number of years, and we just signed with them where they're going to be funding 90% of it, and it's going to be here for 3 to 5 years. The Member of Parliament for Laventille West and the other Laventille met with the ambassador, and we plan to utilize and have that program started there, and he plans to spill over to Port of Spain, North, St. Anne's West, and others. And maybe Shogun, if it's successful in the first 2 years, we have no problem spreading it in those areas. You would have heard my colleague from Moruga talk just now and plead with regards to what's going on in Moruga, and I'm pleased to say that one of our plans in these hard economic times, what we have done is we have Trinidad and Tobago per square mile has the most sporting facilities in the world. In fact, last year, we're the only country to launch and finish so many world-class facilities, including the Brian Lara and the aquatic, the racket, the cycling, without hosting our Olympics or a World Cup. So what we plan to do is utilize these facilities to the maximum, where we're going to be doubling up and using them for youth facilities as well, where we're going to give the young people offices at the Hazy Crawford Stadium, at the Aquatic Center, and so on. However, we plan to build the first youth and sport facility at Moruga. That cabinet note was passed a few months ago, and UDCOT will be building that. And I'm sure the Member of Parliament for Moruga Tableland is very pleased to hear that that will be done this year. Madam Speaker, not everyone could run, swim, jump. There are a number of young people that are doing great things throughout the world for Trinidad and Tobago and not getting any recognition. There's a young man called Shanvi Mahadio, who represented Trinidad and Tobago in the Mathematics Olympiad in Brazil. You all aware of that? And did quite well, the highest ever Trinidad and Tobago has done. But those things don't make the papers. We don't hear about those things. Young people representing us well. Matthew Batson and Sadel Ramkasoon were selected from the entire world. And they won an award with the Queen's Commonwealth Young Leaders Award to actually meet the Queen. 2 trainees, all paid for by the Commonwealth. We don't hear about those positive things that young people are doing. In between there, we have programs at the Presto and Chatham Youth Development Centers. I was very fortunate last year to attend a graduation where we had over 100 young men going out in the working world. It's a 2-year cycle, so we have the new cycle that has started, and we're working with those young people there as well. The Young Trinidad Youth Council hosted its 11th annual Family Day this year, of which I attended and we supported. And we're working very closely with the Tobago Youth Council And I'm very pleased to say as well that the Cabinet has passed last month for us to go ahead with a new youth policy. We haven't had a new youth policy for the last 5 years. And the problem that we've been having with not only the youth policy, but the sports policy and other policies is implementation and monitoring of these policies. And this year, we're going to ensure that when these things are kicked out this year and finalized and launched, that we're going to ensure that they're implemented for the first time. Madam Speaker, this year, to talk a little bit about the finances of the budget, I was allocated $302 million. Last year, we were allocated $325 million, but we actually got in releases $243 million. So we had a little drop-off there. But just like the year before, where we got $600 million, and I dropped to $325 million, we were able, with that drop, to have what most people have said, and with the sport company and the ministry calibrating, the most successful year in sport in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Never before has Trinidad and Tobago won so many events in the non-traditional sports. We tend to calibrate success in sport, making it to the World Cup or winning medals in the Olympics. But there are 50 plus sports that are registered at the Ministry of Sport, and over 100 sports that are played in Trinidad and Tobago that we don't recognize. But we tend to always look towards the two major sports, maybe cricket as well. And let me just go through a few of these sports. It's a long list that I have. I'll take up my whole time, and I apologize to those who may not call. And let me congratulate the National Award Shakonyo Gold winners this year, our men's relay 4x400 team in the IAF World Championship that won it in London earlier this year. Also, Jeremy Richards won the bronze in the 200 meter, the IAAF. He was also given the National Award Shakonyo Gold. This year, as you know, part of my and the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs job is not only about podium, it's about sports tourism, it's about grassroots development. We've also mandated all the NGBs to ensure that they push, once you have females in your sport, to ensure that we uplift the female aspect of your sports and the para side of your sport. If you have para, part wheelchair, people with disabilities, that is a sport that could be played, we want to encourage that. And not only in sports tourism do we want to host events of a sporting nature. There's also a big market out there, Madam Speaker, in our efforts to assist with the diversification of the economy from oil and gas. Sports conferences. Right? Why can't we host a FIFA conference here? Why can't we host an ICC conference here? It doesn't have to be a T20. Hyatt could be utilized, there's hotel rooms and so on, to have business of the sport. And that is something that we're targeting, and you're going to see a number of that. And I think next year we're planning to have the most ever as well with regards to conferences. But there's also coaching of the coaches, coaching of the umpires, coaching of the referees is another part of sport that we have totally ignored. And it's something that I'm very pleased to talk to with regards to ASAT, the Swimming Association, who won the bid for the CC-CAN, first of all, hosted for the first time in the Caribbean the CC-CAN competition, and Trinidad and Tobago for the first time won the CC-CAN, which is the biggest aquatic meet in the Western Hemisphere. We had 40 countries and 2,000 athletes visiting Trinidad and Tobago. For the first time, as you know, we are a number of new sports that are coming up. Synchronized swimming and diving is new. For the first time, we had somebody represent us in diving. And young Alyssa Ramlakan won 2 gold medals in diving. 12 years old. For the first time in our history. We had the most medals ever. Trinidad and Tobago won the most medals ever in CC-CAN. We had the most ever athletes participate. And as I said before, they did something, apart from breaking 10 CC-CAN records, they did something that was unprecedented. They hosted and piggybacked another conference at the end where they coached over 100 coaches, referees, and umpires who got FINA certified at the event. So people from different islands came to Trinidad just to get certified in these different events. So again, different angle with regards to sports tourism. In terms of the Commonwealth, for the first time, we sent a women's beach soccer and men's beach soccer team to the Commonwealth Games in Bahamas. And we won gold. The women won gold for the first time attended, and the men won silver. In cricket, the under-14 schools cricket team won the secondary school boys cricket tournament for the first time in Somerset, England. First time, again, and again I could go on and on with first times. I want to congratulate National Award winner, Hummingbird winner, Hakeem Stewart, who won 2 gold medals in javelin and discus, not only in the Olympics, but in the Paralympic Games. And he also holds the world record in the 2. Noisha Kane as well. Noisha Kane won the bronze medal in the 100 meters. for the first time in our history, Madam Speaker, we have 2 young men, and I know the Member of Parliament for Barra Tyler will be interested in this because he's involved in bodybuilding, and I think he has family members in this. We have 2 young people who are going to get the pro card in bodybuilding. Right, they got first place in the Arnolds in Germany, and Ms. Isaiah Kanhai won in Las Vegas, and he also became a pro. First time in history of Trinidad and Tobago, we have 2 professionals in bodybuilding that they got their cards, and they're going on to represent us. It is not only the older ones, Madam Speaker, there are young ones as well. We have a 9-year-old, for the first time, Alex Powell, won the Epcot Center go-kart race and qualified for the World Finals in Italy, a 9-year-old, making papers front page in Miami and Florida. Nobody hear about him down here. Right? For the first time, we have a grandmaster who's a female in chess, young Miss Johnson from St. Joseph Convent. The Carifta woman won the water polo under 19 for the first time. And it took me a while to catch this young lady's name. So bear with me. Her name is Jenna Ross. Won the Ironman in Mexico in the triathlon, qualifying for the World Championship in South Africa. Her name is Jenna Ross. Right? For the first time, we have somebody representing us in the Ironman in South Africa. The rugby women 10 won the championship in America. We won the most medals in Caribacco, which is the badminton tournament that we hosted here, 46 in all. And in other various sports as well, Scrabble. Daniel Henriquez came 3rd in the world in the Junior World Championship in England in Scrabble, the highest ever for a Caribbean player. And I could go on and on, Madam Speaker, but I don't have much time, so let me move on. Of course, you have, not for the first time, we won the CPL. Madam Speaker, I must talk on this for a little bit because in 2015, we hosted the CPL finals here for a whooping cost of $3.5 million US. This team was able to negotiate for the same finals for $1 million US. Saving the country $2.5 million US to host the finals, Madam Speaker. And we won it at the Brian Lara Stadium. So the first major tournament that the Brian Lara Academy has hosted, and I was glad to see a number of you all there at the finals that we were able to win. We won the Super 50 men's cricket. We won the 23rd Goodwill's Swimming Championships in Guyana. And I could go on and on. The volleyball men and women won the crossover. Right? Just this weekend here, we won in Sambo. The schoolboys boxing won in Guyana. And there are a number of new sports that are coming up, Madam Speaker, that we are encouraging young people to play. Triathlon has become the fastest growing sport in Trinidad and Tobago, along with dragon boat racing. Right? Remember, for Arima, myself, always go to the dragon boat racing in Chagaramas. And I'll come back to dragon boat when I discuss the trip in China. BMX, I was privileged to be able to attend the first handball game in Trinidad and Tobago. And also there's a new game called street tennis that has taken off in Trinidad as well and up the islands. And what we have been doing, Madam Speaker, as well as all this hard work with the athletes, we have been righting a number of wrongs that occurred over the years. Case in point, Jehu Gordon, who also won the juniors and the IAF. I was promised a house by the last government. We came in and I want to thank the Member of Parliament for San Fernando Eastwood working with me to ensure that Jehu Gordon got his home. Right? There was a cycling technical director, one of the best in the world from the United States, was hired by Trinidad and Tobago under the last regime. And I don't want to get into the details because here is a lawsuit going on with regards to his dismissal. We were able to negotiate to get him back here. He just coached Canada, and Canada did the best ever in the Olympics, and he's back here in Trinidad running the cycling velodrome and working with us, Mr. Aaron Hartwell, doing a fantastic job. Madam Speaker, we also, as you know, part of my portfolio as part of the manifesto for the People's National Movement, which is now policy, is to work with regards to development at the grassroots level. And I'm happy that the member for Tunapuna, who works very closely with me in that area, was able to work with me. Just imagine, Eddie Hart League has been around for how many years? As much as 100 teams. And in 2014, 2015, 2013, they didn't get any funding under that government. Imagine that. We were able to get the league back going for the last 2-3 years. We went the opening last week. And most importantly, remember for W. O'Meara, when he was Minister of Public Utility, we were able to light that field for the young people could recreate and play throughout the night. Thank you, Mr. Antoine, for that. We have also helped Gali Cummins with his finishing school. We've started a number of leagues. We have partnered with the private sector, Milo, with regards to the Barcelona Skills Tournament, where we have young people going to Barcelona for trials. The primary school track and field events. We hosted the Boston Celtic Avery Bradley Clinic, where we had 100 kids getting to train with an NBA player for free for the first time. The Southern Games, the Milo Games, and a number of other grassroots competitions and tournaments that we have brought back. The Poorhouse League in St. James, the Infirmary League that we call, we've been working with them and so on. We've been giving out boxing equipment across the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago to all the gyms. And what we have mandated from a number of the NGBs is to start back primary school tournaments and secondary school tournaments. And a number of them have started that back at the grassroots level. Madam Speaker, we have a lot of work to do with regards to the reform and the governance. And you would have heard the member for Diego Martin Northeast, the Minister of Finance, talk about the Sports Commission, which has been a lot of debate going on with regards to that. I have the original cabinet note on my desk from 2004 when the sports company was formed and it was supposed to be morphed into the Sports Commission. Of course, the sports company went about its way and just never looked back. Right? We are planning to work, the cabinet will have to decide with regards to finalizing that, but this year we want to put that to rest and have the Sports Commission started. One of the things as well that we're looking at, which is outdated, is boxing boards. Across the world, we don't have boxing boards anymore. They're combat sports commissions. There are a number of sports that are more dangerous, sambo, kickboxing, kung fu, karate. There are others that have hand-to-hand combat. The boxing board commissions was in Parliament, laid in Parliament in the 1930s. This year we plan to bring it. The AG and us will be working together. Once the Cabinet approves the final move forward, that we'll be forming a combat sport commission. We're looking at restructuring operations at the Ministry of Sports. For the first time, we're going to have an image rights bill. And for the first time, we're going to be having naming rights for our new facilities. Now, you notice we open all these facilities without the political side of naming it after athletes. That is because that's a thing of the past. We were looking to get foreign investors. And what we've been doing is working with a number of the international bodies to have them utilize our facilities for world training centers. UCI, which is the cycling world body, has already committed. By December, we hope to sign, where we're going to have as much as 2,000 athletes from the world coming here. And the minimum that I'm hearing that they pay is $5,000 US here for 2 weeks to utilize our facilities. So that's going to bring in some revenue for us. Volleyball, we met with the president of volleyball, and in fact, I, as Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, have, for the first time, met with the most international world presidents for sport. We met, and the Prime Minister and myself met, as you all know, with the FIFA President, Giovanni Infantino, where we made football a home, and we had the sword turning last week at the Atto Bolan. We met with UCI President, Mr. Brian Cookson. We met with Carrie Bacco, Badminton Director for Development for Pan American region, Mr. German Valdez. For water polo, we met with Mr. Dale Newberger, and so on and so forth. We have met with so many presidents for different world bodies who are interested in coming to Trinidad and Tobago and utilizing our facilities, that we're well on our way for utilizing them at an international level. Madam Speaker, in terms of infrastructure projects, we've done a number of projects last year, starting with the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, which was opened earlier this year, finally after 10 years. We're finalizing the plan with regards to moving forward with the academy, where we want to work with UTT and so on, where we're going to have young people not just playing cricket there, but actually going to school and learning as well while they're there, not just from Trinidad and Tobago, from across the world. We lighted for the first time, Madam Speaker, just imagine, we have all these stadia, the Hazy Crawford, the Dwight York, the Atto Bolan, the Manny Ramjohn, and nobody ever thought about lighting the training fields to ease up and utilize and maximize the revenue that you could get. So we started that process. The Member of Parliament for Laventille West, when he was the Minister of Public Utility, worked with me with that project to light the Hazy Crawford training field, and now we're getting double the revenue with regards to rental, so we could use it in the night. Too late. Nevertheless, we also resurfaced the Hazy Crawford training track for the first time. The Member of Parliament for La Hoqueta Talparo, he's very happy that we're able to finish the Phase 5 pavilion. Mount Diablo, we finished that pavilion. As I mentioned before, the lighting of the Eddie Hart ground. Again, the Member for La Hoqueta Talparo, we did Todd's Recreation Ground. We plan to do that ribbon cutting soon. The Hockey Center by Tuna Puna seat by Eddie Hart ground. We did a total upgrade. We had some issues getting US to get the turf here, but I'm hearing that they're finalizing to get that. And of course, for the first time, we're going to have a cleaning machine, not just for the turf, but for all the stadium tracks, because we focus on maintaining what we have, Madam Speaker. We also did work at the Southern Regional Indoor Pleasantville facility. And as I said, the projects that we completed was what we plan to complete this year is the Brian Lara Recreation Ground in Santa Cruz by my neighbor St. Anne's East. That's another project that has been going on for 10 years. It's part of my job to clean up, and that's going to be, we're going to do a ribbon cutting for that within the next few months. And of course, the Diego Martin Recreation Ground, which has sat there for 10 years, that's going to be completed this year as well. You would have seen in my draft estimates for my PSIP, the projects that we have done is the Dwight York Stadium, and this is something that we've done in the past that we're trying to rectify, where we build all these mega facilities and we don't maintain it. And now it has to shut down, and we have to come and pump all this money to bring it back up. Right? So there's something that we're going to do, Dwight York, as you know, as the Sea Blast. And we want to get that back up for Akeem and those guys can utilize it finally. So we have put some money there for that. The member for Lavantil West will be happy that we're going to do a pool in Lavantil. We had some issues finding the final location for that, but we've done that, and we plan to move forward this year. I spoke about the Muruga Youth Facility. The member for Point Forte will be very pleased that we put aside money as well for the Mahaika Oval. That is a project, again, that started many years ago and was left. And it's our job to ensure that taxpayers' money isn't left there, and we're going to finish and complete that project as well. Madam Speaker, I keep hearing, and for some reason the members on the other side seem to have a problem with the sport of golf. And the irony of it is a number of members, I know Oropouche East, I know Caroni East, and a number of others play the game all the time. So I don't know if they're afraid. I recommend that you all try it. It's a very, very relaxing game. It's challenging. If you want me to organize, I'll set up for you all together practice. But it's a fantastic sport. And I'm going to tell you this. Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know if you know a man called Stephen Ames. We have one of the best players in the world at one time. And I'll let you know this. We have a young lady, Monifa Seeley, the first Caribbean, if I'm not sure, but I know for sure Trinidad and Tobago woman to break into the LPGA. She's on the cusp of doing that. Golf has been doing fantastic. In fact, they hosted the 30th Youth Junior Golf Tournament here this year. We had almost 20 countries. They came forth the highest that they've ever come, and they're doing well. So I don't know if, because you don't know of the sport, you think it's some stigma with golf, but try it. Member for Oropouche East will tell you about it. I don't know if Shogunus West is played. But nevertheless, Caroni East is played too? Yeah. Nevertheless, last year, when I came in for the mid-year review, you would have known the member for La Hocketa Taparo public admin passed over the St. Madeleine golf course. First time I ever visited. I don't know if you all have ever seen it. It's a beautiful facility. Want to give it? Yeah, sure.
Information. The Prime Minister's Golf Tournament was started by Mr. Basli Upandi.
So in other words, so you all should understand how important golf is. But I didn't know that's some trivia that I now learned there. But my point is, you all need to visit that golf course in St. Madeleine. It's fantastic. I had to have Cayman in the pool. Because the pool has been just, and that's what I'm talking about. Just like Dwight York, just like all the facilities, we leave these things down to drop and then have to spend millions of dollars to get up. If we don't fix it now, next 5 years you'll come and say, why are they fix the Chaguaramas golf course? It's a damn if you do, damn if you don't, Madam Speaker. And we have to fix it. We're going to fix the St. Madeleine. We're looking at a public-private arrangement. We're going to look at doing Sevilla with Brechin Castle. I think it's in Couva South constituency. Right, so we're working on that as well, Madam Speaker. So don't be frightened of golf. Don't put a stigma on golf. And who knows, some of the residents from Couva South could probably even utilize the golf course to walk as well when we work out things at the Ato Boland Stadium. Madam Speaker, I was privileged this year to be invited by the government of the People of the Republic of China, and myself and Mr. Joe Mopit, the councilman from THA, went to a youth conference over there. And it was disheartening to see, apparently, a team from the other side in 2013 or 2014 went to China as well and signed an MOU. I think, remember, for Caroni Central was part of that. Wasn't you? A team from it. Sorry, Madam Speaker. But as an MOU sitting on there for the past 2 years under them that was signed with China to do a number of positive things, and it was never dealt with. Nevertheless, I was invited to re-energize the process, and I'm pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, we were able to secure 30 full scholarships to the #1 sporting university in the world, Beijing Sports University, for Trinidad and Tobago nationals. And we are finalizing our paperwork now so we can have young people taking advantage of that facility that we've just put in place by next year. We also were able to bring in coaches from China. As you know, we are learning synchronized swimming and diving for the first time. They're experts in gymnastics, they're experts in table tennis, and they're going to be sending on a junior coach and an elite coach for each of these sports where we're going to be working with them. And for the first time, Madam Speaker, it's something that all the Caribbean islands did. A number of issues that we've been asking and hearing from young people, and I'm sure you all hear it from your constituencies, is young people not having experience when they go for job interviews. So they may have the qualifications, may they have the degrees and so on, but when they go to the interview, they don't have the experience. And what they've been asking for is for internships. And we were able to negotiate with them to have trades with regards to internships, where they will send their young people to Trinidad and Tobago to learn new things, whether it's oil and gas, culture, cricket, whatever different industries we may have in terms of sport or other industry. And we will be able to send our young people there for 6 months to learn agriculture, to learn technology, to learn science, to learn sports, and so on. And that is going to be started next year, Madam Speaker. So good news again for the young people of Trinidad and Tobago and everybody constituents that live in their constituency. Madam Speaker, one of the things that we were able to do as well is, I spoke about the Dragon Boat. Of course, you know Dragon Boat started in China. And it's, as I said, one of the fastest growing sports. If you all have time, they're having the secondary schools Dragon Boat race next weekend in Chaguaramas. And you'll see how many kids participate. And the government of China has also invited the winners of those tournaments to attend the World Dragon Boat Festival for free in China next year. So it's going to be an experience for a female school and a male school to travel to China to participate in this event. So it was a very fruitful trip, Madam Speaker, and we hope that we start to bear fruits soon as possible, and we've already started to put things in place. Madam Speaker, we have hosted a number of consultations throughout the year. The dispute resolution seminar, where we want to start by December, and this is something sad to say, Madam Speaker, that we have issues that people aren't mature enough to iron out the issues with behind closed doors. We see it in sport all the time where people put up on social media, they talk to each other, they sit next to each other in boardrooms, but they'll talk to each other in the media. These things are killing sport with regards to corporate sponsors. Corporate sponsors don't want to put their brands to any sport that may have any arguing or bacchanal, to use local parlance. So we want to set up this dispute resolution where if you're having issues in your sport, whether it's parents, coaches, athletes, you come to this center and you talk it out and trash it out behind closed doors, get it solved, and move on. Because we have spoken to sponsors and they've said, clear as day, they're not getting involved with this sport, they're not giving money to that sport because there's too much arguing in the public. And we want to stop that. I hope that message comes across, Madam Speaker. And for the first time since 2002, Madam Speaker, we have the final draft for a new sports policy. We have traveled the length and breadth. We have had over 20 consultations with athletes, with parents, with teachers, with various ministers, with various ministries, technocrats, and so on. Tobago, UTT, UE, and so on. And we finally have a new sports policy draft that is going to be handed to Cabinet this month, and hopefully either in October, November, December, somewhere that we can have that new policy launched, but again, monitored and implemented properly so we could have the best for our athletes. In that policy, for the first time in our history, because both sides have played it to extensive politics with regards to when athletes do well. We want athletes to know what they're getting before. It's an incentive, not a reward. And this is how it's done in other countries. They don't call it a reward, they call it an incentive. And we have a fantastic plan that we have consulted with a number of the NGBs and stakeholders that will be part of the policy. We're also looking at the elite athlete funding and the development funding, where we have to improve, and of course a new plan for our tourism, sports tourism policy that we're going to be implementing as well. We also, as I said before, started the consultation for the new youth policy, which we hope to complete within the middle of this year. One of the things that we did for the first time, Madam Speaker, in this economic hard times, is a lot of the money that we give to the NGBs goes towards rent. They may have to have an office, they pay 10,000, 25,000, wherever it may be that they are. Just like I said that we're going to utilize the new facilities that we have for youth and sport, we also have started for the first time giving homes to sport. And as you have seen, the big shebang with football, but also tennis, table tennis, badminton, swimming, water polo, diving, triathlon, cycling, volleyball, boxing. The entry is netball and basketball. We have found homes for where that money now could go towards the athletes' development. One of the things that we did as well, Madam Speaker, is the sport company used to rent a building with all the expenses, lights and etc. for $400,000 a month for the past 10 years. And that wasn't part of the plan. We came in and we moved them and housed them at the aquatic and the cycling velodrome, where that $400,000 is now going back into the development of athletes. So we're doing little things, Madam Speaker, throughout our time and tenure to ensure that we save money and get the best bang for our buck. One of the things, Madam Speaker, that we checked, the PSNI checked, that between our phone bill and our electricity bill at the Ministry and the Sport Company and the other facilities, we were able to save almost $1 million when you compare to the 2 years before we came into government to the first 2 years that we've had. Because you have a policy where we're telling all our staff to take off the lights when they leave the buildings and to email rather than making phone calls. We're looking at even now with regards to our drivers, when they have to deliver things, we want to cut down on that with paperless and so on. And I'm sure the other members and the ministers are doing the same to try and cut costs at the ministry. So these are the little things that we're doing, Madam Speaker, with regards to ensuring that we are cost effective and get the best bang for our buck. Madam Speaker, I cannot stand there and do talk to my constituents in Diego Martin Central. We've been doing a number of infrastructure projects in Diego Martin. Let me first of all thank the member for San Fernando East, the Minister of Housing, who after almost 10, 15 years with Victoria Keys, finally opened the Victoria Keys. And we were able to give, and all MPs know that is our #1 request with regards to homes, and he was able to open that up in Diego Martin Central. He was also in his capacity open Shakonia Crescent, which we were able to house a number of young people as well. That sat down there for 10 years as well. And also View Fort, which is on the border of the Member of Parliament for Port of Spain, South, and myself. Because we share Fort George. I know she's trying to claim it, but we share that border. Right? I'm very pleased. And I know she will be very pleased to thank the Member of Parliament, because you have 3 towers that sat there for almost 10, 15 years. Remember how long it sat there? Yes. And again, this is what we do. We come in there and it's very difficult to start a project that was stopped for so long and started over. And I want to give kudos to the Member of Parliament for San Fernando for alleviating that. Madam Speaker, the same ground that Couva North was talking about, the Diego Martin Recreation Ground, that is going to be the hub for Diego Martin for sport, for Bagatelle, for Patna, for Diamond Vale, for River State, for Blue Range, for Blue Basin. They're going to utilize that. The Minister of Agriculture, finally, for so many years, we're going to have a ribbon cutting, because I know he's completed the Cookreed Fishing Bay. He completed the dock that is there now, and they set it up and paved it nice for the fishermen and so on. We're going to do a ribbon cutting for that for the people of Cookreed. The Minister for Works and Transport, as you'll see in his PSIP, he's going to do the walkover in 4 roads, Madam Speaker, with the new highway there. The Member of Parliament for St. Joseph has put in his PSIP for a health center in Diamond Vale. He did the soil testing, and I know they're going out for tender soon. I want to thank him for that. So soon we're going to have a health center in Diego Martin Central. The Member of Parliament for Laventille West, in his former capacity as Minister of Public Utility. And St. Lucian Road in Diego Martin Central, he did a TNTEC substation this year, which is giving the constituency a better flow of electricity and current without.
Your original 45 minutes are up. You're entitled to 10 more minutes if you intend to avail yourself of it. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I won't be long. The Diego Martin River, I want to thank the Minister of Works and Transport. I remember when the member for Shoguanas West was the Minister of Water Resources. Some ministry they made us begging him to come and assist us with regards to that. We finally getting the Diego Martin River worked on. Notice we had heavy rain, the water, we have reached to the top, but we didn't have any major flooding in Diego Martin, thank God. I want to thank the minister, the senator for local government, for his national cleanup campaign. Diego Martin was the first, and I'll let you know this, the Minister of Health will tell you, just based on that cleanup, we've had a reduction in chikungunya, in dengue, and other diseases because of that cleanup, Madam Speaker. So I want to thank him for that. Madam Speaker, this year, 9 months ago, we won the local government election. Diego Martin won it again. I want to thank the chairman, Susan Hung, and the 3 councillors from Diego Martin Central, Simon de Nobrega, Kiran, Sibaran, and Marcia from Kokorit, who have been working very hard with me to ensure that the grassroots are cleaning and paving, and they're doing a number of work with regards to garbage collection, the box drains, the paving in all the districts in Diego Martin Central. And we were able to host a number of events with the young people. We hosted 2 family days in a row, 2 years in a row. We had a Diego Martin Queen show for the first time. Diego Martin Got Talent. We had a toy drive. We did a summer and Easter camp, a Mother's Day lunch, a Father's Day cricket. So we've been working with the people of Diego Martin Central. And I want to thank them for the continued support. And again, the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs continue to work with all the MPs because, as you know, once you're called on both sides, we try to assist as much as Trinidad and Tobago is not just about the PNM side and the UN side. We continue to work with everybody, for the young people, for the youths, for the athletes. And I think 2018 is going to be the best year ever for sport in Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Remo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I begin my contribution to this debate, I would like, first of all, to express my thanks and gratitude to the Minister of Finance for an excellent presentation. My appreciation also goes out to the Minister of Planning, who played no small role in ensuring that we had the type of budget that we are all proud of. I would like to thank also my staff, both at the Ministry of Education and at my constituency office, for giving me the type of support that is necessary to allow me to stand today to give my budget presentation. Yes, sir. I would also like to show my appreciation to my fellow Minister of Education, the member for Maruga Tableland, for an excellent presentation this afternoon. And of course, the minister who just came before me, the Minister of Sport, for an outstanding contribution. Madam Speaker, I would like to focus my contribution on value for money and in our efforts at ensuring that the allocation that we have received is well used and well spent in an effort to provide the quality of education that this ministry and this new administration has now become proud of. It is important for us, Madam Chairman, Madam President, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we keep foremost in our minds the mandate of this government and of the Ministry of Education. And that is to provide quality education, to ensure that there is inclusion so that no one is left behind, and to ensure that everyone has the opportunity or access to this quality education that we are determined to provide. Madam Speaker, starting from the foundation, the very foundation, that is the ECC centers, we have endeavored to look at the curriculum that is now being offered to ensure that what is being taught to our students at the ECC centers is in line with programs that have been approved by the Ministry of Education. Towards this end, Madam Speaker, we have reformed the entire ECC sector, and that report is now before Cabinet, and this House, in the not-too-distant future, will be afforded a copy of that report. At the primary level, Madam Speaker, we have put in place a number of programs that will promote literacy and numeracy, so that when a student leaves the primary school, that student will be efficient in these two major areas. It is really very sad in some instances when we see students leaving the primary school after 7 years of existence in the primary school, not being able to read or write or do his or her numbers properly. And we are determined to correct this. And towards this end, we have put things in place from level 1 in the infant department right on to standard 5, so that our students will be well equipped and they will be able to benefit from what is being taught. Towards this end, we have embarked on a program of clinical supervision. And this program is designed to improve the levels of teaching and learning in our schools. It has been organized by the Curriculum Development Division of the Ministry of Education, and the officers from the schools will be visiting every school to ensure that the curriculum is implemented in accordance with the directives of the Ministry of Education and our Curriculum Development Department. We are at pains to show that it is not meant to be punitive, but simply to be developmental. In other words, it is designed to assist our teachers as they implement the curriculum in the primary school and to a large extent in the secondary school. So as much assistance as possible will be given to our teachers so that they will be able truly to provide the type of assistance to our students. Side by side with clinical supervision, Madam Speaker, is another initiative that is referred to as the Student Monitoring System. My fellow minister and the representative for Meruga made mention of this. And this will allow our teachers to track the performance and the progress of our students, and also to identify areas of strength and weaknesses so that the teaching could be delivered in such a way that our students will benefit. We have had to put a stop to national test because we found that that was not working in accordance with what was desired. And this system of clinical supervision, it is hoped, will replace the national test so that our students will continue to have the opportunity of being monitored from the cradle right on, so that they, with the requisite guidance from our teachers, will be able to perform to the best of their abilities. Madam Speaker, I come to the SEA exam. This year, we have had a number of concerns expressed when the SEA exam results were announced. Every year, we find that our students, some of them do well, and in fact, this year, we found that a large number of our students did exceedingly well. However, in our estimation, there were far too many students who did not perform to our satisfaction. In other words, those were the students who scored less than 30% in the exam. Traditionally, Madam Speaker, these students were left to wander without any effort being made to assist them. And we have found that the time has come when we must correct this. As a result, we have embarked on an initiative that will assist these students. We have categorized these students into two major areas. One is students who are above the age of 13 years and students who are below the age of 13 years. Those students who perform less than 30% and who are above the age of 13 years, we have allowed them to move on to secondary schools. However, at the secondary schools, we have put in place certain measures to assist them. First of all, we have identified a number of schools that will admit those students so that those students will be in clusters. Teachers have been adequately trained and prepared to deal with these students so that they can give them the necessary support and encouragement. Towards this end also, Madam Speaker, we have engaged the support our Student Support Services Division, which will be able to provide the necessary assistance in diagnosing some of the shortfalls that some of these students might be experiencing. The students who are under the age of 13, we have allowed them to repeat the Standard 5 class. And again, through the student monitoring program and through other measures, including clinical supervision, including regular visits to the schools by our school supervisors and our curriculum officers, we want to ensure that they are able to deal with the requirements of the curriculum so that when they write the exam, we will see a marked improvement in their performance. All of these initiatives that we are putting in place will be supported by a system of school-based management. This is a system whereby we are ensuring that the governance of the school is put in the hands of the school community. In other words, Madam Speaker, we will be working closely with our principals, our vice principals, our heads of departments, our school supervisors, our curriculum officers, all those actors in the education system to ensure that governance of the school is of the highest standard. We will be lending our hands to our stakeholders so that they will also assist in taking responsibility for the success of the schools, working together with the school community. Each school is required to have a school-based management team, again, which will be closely monitored by our supervisors, so that members of that team will be able to assist the principal and the school administration in the execution of their duties. They will also have the authority and the responsibility to reduce inappropriate behavior in our schools. And I'll come to that in a while. But this system of school-based management is really designed to improve both learning and teaching in our schools, so that both our teachers and our students will be able to benefit. Madam Speaker, an innovation that we have embarked upon within recent times is referred to as penmanship with a purpose. Handwriting that matters right from the start. This initiative really is to improve and advance numeracy and literacy in our schools. It is to refocus on the handwriting skills. It is designed to engage our students in the discipline of handwriting. Madam Speaker, some years ago, one could have easily identified or identify a student from a particular school because of the handwriting of that student. Many of our schools seem to have fallen by the wayside with respect to handwriting. In fact, Madam Speaker, when reports come to me one way or the other, where students have been asked to write a report on any incident, sometimes I'm appalled at the quality and at the level of their handwriting. It is, in many cases, difficult to read or decipher. This ministry has taken a decision to correct that, because it is our intention to see that every child who leaves primary school is able to write in such a way that he'll be able to communicate effectively so that persons will be able to understand what is being written. Madam Speaker, it has been shown that there is a connection between how a person thinks and how a person performs by how a person writes. In fact, studies have shown that there is that connection in which, where the brain operates, and that is exemplified and shown in the way a student writes. It is therefore believed that once we encourage our students to improve their handwriting skills, it will assist tremendously in the way they think and the way they do things, and most importantly, it will allow them to improve their literacy and numeracy skills. So this is an area, Madam Speaker, that we are focusing on. Madam Speaker, an initiative of which all of us at the Ministry of Education are very proud of is the Lavantil MOVA initiative. In fact, it is the brainchild of the Prime Minister. And we have had a formal opening, a formal launch of this program last year. We have had a school rally involving all the students in those schools that we have identified. And those activities were very successful. Madam Speaker, 25 schools in the Lavantil area have been identified. 20 primary schools and the 5 secondary schools. And this program has been based on 4 important planks. First of all, we are looking at advancing numeracy and literacy, in other words, curriculum development, where students in those schools are concerned. Secondly, we are looking at parental involvement. The third plank is promoting discipline. And the fourth plank is infrastructure and aesthetics. In terms of literacy and numeracy, screening exercises have been conducted in all of the primary schools, all of the 20 primary schools in the Lavantil MOVA area. Teachers were trained, teachers in that area have been trained to conduct these exercises. And as a result, we have already seen an improvement in numeracy and the literacy among those students, because teachers having been brought, or the attention having been brought to the teachers of the deficiencies of those students, they are now able to assist the students in a way that they weren't able to assist before. It is important, Madam Speaker, for all of us in the system of education to recognize that we cannot do it alone. We need the active involvement of our stakeholders. An important stakeholder in our delivery of education must be the parents. And therefore, parenting in education has been one of the important areas of this Laventil MOVA initiative. A number of workshops have been held under the direction of our Student Support Services Division, and our parents have been working well in establishing productive partnerships between the home and the school. Again, this has proven to be very effective and very successful. We have now parents eager and anxious to come to the school, to talk to the teachers, to find out more about the students. We find our parents are now eager and anxious to attend meetings of the PTAs. In fact, we have encouraged our parents to join the PTAs in the school, whether it is a parent-teacher association or whether you call it a parent support group, whatever name is called, we are encouraging our parents to effectively join hands with the school community, in particular the teachers and the principal, in ensuring that whatever is done in the interest of the child, those initiatives will have their support and their commitment. Madam Speaker, this is another area that I have been talking about for quite some time, and that is discipline and violence. In spite of the fact, Madam Speaker, that we have been hearing a lot about crime and undesirable behavior in the Laventil MOVA district, we have found that because of this initiative, there is a lessening in the areas of indiscipline and violence in our schools. And Madam Speaker, I am not saying this simply because I want it to sound good. I am basing this on evidence that we have been able to garner from reports from our school supervisors. Our school supervisors, who have responsibility for schools in the Laventil MOVA districts, have been reporting to us that there has been a marked reduction in the levels of indiscipline and violence in our schools. In fact, Madam Speaker, the entire country would know that in that area, we have not seen any school or any parent protesting outside the schools. We have been having the active support of the parents and the teachers. There are problems, we admit that there are problems, but we have come together in solving the problems or in finding solutions to these problems. And therefore, the reduction of violence and indiscipline in our schools has been marked. And finally, the fourth pillar on which this initiative is based is infrastructure and aesthetics. It is our view and our hope that every school must have an environment that is conducive to learning and teaching. It is our belief that the working conditions of the teacher are the learning conditions of the child. And we have been doing everything that is possible to ensure that the physical conditions under which our teachers operate and our students learn are of a standard that will allow teaching and learning to be accomplished in a most effective manner. We have embarked on a number of projects. We have had work done in terms of plumbing, masonry, electricity. We have furnished those schools with furniture that time gone by they did not have. And everything is working well, except, and I must say except, that we have some concerns and some challenges with respect to the contractors and their ability to perform their duties. Many of the contractors have complained that because of the adults who sometimes form themselves into undesirable gangs, they are demanding certain stipends from the contractors. I have spoken to the Minister of National Security, who has given me the assurance that the Ministry of National Security is going to work hand in hand with the Ministry of Education at ensuring that the contractors receive the adequate protection when they go out to do the jobs. I want to thank the Minister of National Security for the support that he has pledged in this exercise. I now turn to inclusive education. Madam Speaker, I spoke just now of the fact that no child must be left behind, regardless of the challenges that child might be facing. It is our view that every child has the ability to learn, albeit some students learn at a faster rate than others, or conversely, some students take a longer time to grasp what is being taught. But more than that, there are some students in our school system who suffer certain disabilities. We are pledged to assist these students. We have been working, again hand in hand, with the Student Support Services Division and other stakeholders at ensuring that there is adequate support and assistance for these students who suffer certain challenges. Towards this end, we will be appointing 68 student aides, where persons will be able to sit in the classrooms with those children and provide the necessary support for those children. In addition to this, Madam Speaker, this government and this Ministry of Education have invested and supported 14 private special schools who are doing human services for children who are physically or emotionally or psychologically challenged. We have been giving them the necessary support, both financially and our technical persons have been visiting these centers or these schools so that the information that is so necessary to assist them, our children, in dealing with the challenges that they now face, that those children are now benefiting from what we have to offer. 14 of these special schools are now being funded to a large extent by the Ministry of Education. We hope to have an even closer relationship with these schools because it is our view that our special needs children are children also, and therefore they need the support that we'll give to any other child. We are also strengthening our Student Support Services Division so that we will have more persons who are qualified and trained to assist in this area. Recently, we have put out advertisements online for the recruitment of a number of specialists in these areas. And this is simply to assist those children who are special needs children. Madam Speaker, I now turn to GATE. We have heard a lot about GATE, but still, it is my view that we can never stop talking about the success that this government has been able to achieve where GATE is concerned. Just a year or two ago, we were bombarded with reports from the national community, from our teachers, from our parents, from students themselves, about the massive wastage that occurred with respect to this GATE program. We have had students migrating from one program to the other. But most importantly, Madam Speaker, and I think I need to make this point again, research has shown that the persons who were the beneficiary of GATE or of GATE funding were those persons in the main who could have afforded it. The majority of persons who accessed GATE funding came from middle to higher income groups. And therefore, they are the ones who are in a better position to deal or to pay for their tertiary education than those persons from the lower income group. And because of this, Madam Speaker, we have instituted and implemented means testing. I have been told by the officers in charge of that at the Ministry of Education that this system is working well, in spite of what people have to say. Trinidad and Tobago is the only English-speaking country in the Caribbean that offers free tertiary education. There's a time when Barbados did that, but because of the economic position, Barbados had to discontinue it. But there are some who are bent on criticizing this government for the steps that we have taken to ensure that we get value for money. We have been able to streamline now GATE operations, and I can safely say that GATE is now operating in accordance with what was intended previously. And that is to ensure that every child who is so qualified is able to access tertiary education. We will continue to monitor and evaluate this system, and if it is necessary for us to make further adjustments to this program, we will make those adjustments. But for the time being, we'll be monitoring closely the means testing that we have put into place to ensure that no child is disadvantaged where this is concerned. Madam Speaker, I turn to technical vocational education and training. There was a time in this country, and I'm sure it was no different among other territories in the Caribbean, where people would turn their noses down on technical vocational education. In fact, it was normal and customary for a parent to tell a child, you can't learn in school, go and learn a trade. That time has passed. This government and this Ministry of Education have been putting things in place to ensure, first of all, that technical vocational education assumes its rightful place. And I know what I'm talking about because I was involved with technical vocational education for 10 years at a secondary school.
All right.
I will go no further. Madam Speaker, we have a number of institutions that engage in the provision of quality technical vocational teaching and training. For example, we have MIC IT, we have the NESC, we have YTEP, we have COSTAT, we have UTT, and also we have the University of the West Indies. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, time does not permit me to elaborate, but let me state, or let me point out just two of the institutions that have been doing human service in the areas of technical vocational education. MIC IT, for example, they have in place a number of programs. For example, they have programs in agriculture, in solar energy, in mechatronics, the master craftsman programs, in solar photovoltaic, in the installation of these apparatus and the repair of them, and also in music and the playing of the steel pan. Again, as I meet with the chairman and vice chairman of MIC IT on a regular basis, I am told of the success of all these programs. A number of our students have been able to benefit from these programs, and they are doing very well. Madam Chairman, Madam Speaker, in terms of COSTAT, COSTAT has been in the forefront of a number of initiatives, in particular initiatives that support the health sector. For example, COSTAT has prepared approximately 700 nursing graduates. They have outfitted and opened a dental training center in Diego Martin, and they are doing a lot of work in many areas of technical vocational studies. Madam Speaker, let me talk a little bit about school feeding. The National Schools Dietary Services Limited continues to provide meals to our students in spite of what our naysayers might be saying. I have heard members on the opposite side say that we have stopped the school feeding program. That is nothing short of an untruth. From the beginning of this term, in other words, from the first day of this term, the 4th of September, the school feeding program kicked in. Our students are now the beneficiaries of breakfast meals and lunches. Madam Speaker, on a daily basis, 58,000 breakfast meals are served to deserving students, and 88,000 lunches are also served. Madam Speaker, efforts have been made to ensure that the menu that have been derived and have been implemented, that menu has been adjusted to include more local school products that will promote healthier meal options.
Local produce.
Yes, local produce. This company is now serving 100% fruit juices and water that will promote healthy eating habits among our students. And I must congratulate our Minister of Health,
Yes, man.
for being in the forefront
Yes.
in ensuring that our students are served healthy meals.
Cut sugar.
And by ensuring that the Ministry of Health, under his leadership, has given the mandate that there should be no sugary beverages served in our schools. Madam Speaker, with respect to school repairs and construction, of course there are many challenges. We know that. But we continue to let our population know that we have been able to achieve tremendous successes where this is concerned. For the 6th consecutive time, when school reopened after a period of vacation, all schools were able to open their doors to receive our children. Regardless of what persons on the opposite side will say.
You don't believe them.
We understand and we accept the fact that a large number of our schools are aged. Some of them are over 50 years old. And as a result, they will require constant attention. And as a result, you would find occasionally some schools have to be closed for a day or two because of unforeseen circumstances. Madam Speaker, just let me share with you. There are 2 areas that we have very little control over, and that is sewer and plumbing. And simply because those reside below the surface. And therefore, when a school has to be closed because of problems with sewer, it is not our fault, because in many cases, these are things that we have not been able to identify. The same goes with plumbing. We have had instances where some of our schools have had to close for a day or two because of burst pipelines that are buried underground. We were not able to detect that before. But our department, our EFPPD department, together with EFCL, have been doing human service at ensuring that all our schools are able to house our students so that they can benefit from the type of education that we are determined to offer. It is very important that we make our schools available to our students. Let me pause for a drink of water, madam. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, during the presentation of my good friend from Faizabad, he had asked for some information with respect to 2 schools, the Superior Union Presbyterian School and the Debe Avenue ECC Center. I'm happy to be in a position to respond to his request and to let him know that we are doing everything possible to ensure, first of all, that the students of Superior Union Presbyterian School will be able to resume their classes as soon as possible. Madam Speaker, it is known that sometime this week, I can't remember the exact day, that school suffered a fire that destroyed one of its buildings. We are still awaiting a report from the Fire Services Department to ascertain the reason for the fire. We don't know at this stage. However, it has been decided that that section of the school that has been burnt will be demolished. And as soon as that exercise has been completed, we are going to reconnect the electricity supply to other buildings so that the students will be able to resume classes. In the meanwhile, we are looking at places where we can house those students so that they will not be left untaught for an extended period of time. In terms of the Debe Avenue ECC Center, Madam Speaker, as was admitted by the member for Faizabad, that school, that center is about 60% complete. Because of our financial considerations and constraints, we are not able to include the construction or the resumption of construction at this time, simply because we have identified a number of schools that are 90% complete, and the resources that we have, we'll want to apply those resources to ensure that those schools are completed. So I want simply to ask my friend from Faizabad to just bear with us. Perhaps in the next financial year, we will make sure that that ECC center is completed. Madam Speaker, I now come to ICT. This government and this ministry is committed to improving ICT infrastructure in all our schools, And towards this end, we have made positive strides, and we are very happy to state this. With respect to the provision of laptops, and I'm sure members on this side will be eager to ask the question about laptops. What is the position with laptops? We were well on our way, Madam Speaker, to have laptops distributed to our students by now, by this time.
Honourable Member Farima, your original 5 minutes are now spent. You're entitled to 10 more minutes if you wish to proceed. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. There was an error at the Central Tenders Board during the tendering process, which has caused the project to be paused. The issue will soon be rectified, and as soon as that issue has been rectified, we'll be in a position to have the laptops distributed to our schools, Madam Speaker, I come to the education towers. As you know, it was last year, August, that we moved into our education towers on St. Vincent Street. This has had positive results in our efforts at delivering a quality education that we are now very proud of. Madam Speaker, this move allowed us to amalgamate all our services in one location. Previous to this, we had several offices strewn all over the place. Now, with all those offices under one building, under one roof, we are able to monitor more closely the operations of these units and these departments. In addition to that, Madam Speaker, we now house the Student Support Services Division, we now house NIHUS, we now house UNESCO. And this has allowed us to foster a harmonious and inclusive relationship among members of all staffs. It has given us the opportunity to interact more frequently with those we serve. Madam Speaker, because of limited time, let me turn my attention to my constituency, Arima, of which I'm very proud to be the Member of Parliament and to serve. With respect to our First Peoples, Madam Speaker, you would recognize that with the support of the Minister of Community Development, and of course, with this minister, we have been able to lobby Cabinet to ensure that those First Peoples, that group, is recognized publicly. And the next week, Friday, they will be enjoying, or the country will be enjoying, a national holiday in recognition of the contribution of our First Peoples. I want to thank our Minister of Community Development for the assistance that she has given in this area. Thank you very much, Madam Minister. There are a number of community-related projects that we have embarked upon. Madam Speaker, I work very closely with the Arima Borough Council. I have an advantage being a councillor at that very council for 5 years. And we have established a very good and cordial working relationship. We meet once monthly. And because of that relationship, we have been able to ensure that a number of amenities have been provided for the people of Arima. Roads have been improved. Street lighting has been improved. There's a marked improvement in our drainage. And recently, the Minister of Works accompanied us in his visit to a number of areas in Arima where certain infrastructural needs were identified. And towards this end, we have had a road that has been macadamized for a number of years, the Matarita Extension Road. And that road is now on its way of being refurbished. Madam Speaker, I understand the deficiency of certain members on the other side in not understanding the meaning of the word I've just used. Yes, it reminds me of a story that I was told. That there was a gentleman who was referred to as Gongo Lai Lai. And that description is very apt for some of those on this side.
He doesn't know what macadam is. That's made it so look at that. Money, you do it?
No.
Member for Arima, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thanks very much for your protection. Madam Speaker, there are 4 areas of work that are being done, of which I, as the representative for Arima, am very proud. The Arima Hospital. We heard the minister spoke about that in his presentation. The topping off exercise was done a few weeks ago, and again, I want to thank the Minister of Health. You see, this government follows what we refer to as the one government approach. So you'd understand, Madam Speaker, that we work closely with our cabinet colleagues and the ministers who have responsibility for different areas and different portfolios. And this is why we have been able to accomplish so much. So I want to thank again the Minister of Health. The Arima Community Center have been given the assurance by the Minister of Community Development that the sod will be turned for the construction of that center very shortly. And I want to thank her again for that. Holy Cross College and the Arima Central Secondary School are 2 educational institutions that will benefit from improvement so that students will be able to access 6th form classes in many areas, including the areas of science and technology. I want to thank the Minister of Planning for that. But I also wish to thank myself as being the MP for the area.
Now, members, I know it's late in the day, and I'm happy that we are still in very high spirits, but I'd like us to remember where we are. Member for Arima.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my fellow minister in the Ministry of Education and I have been able to enjoy a beautiful relationship. We work extremely well. We visit schools together, and every district in Trinidad and in Tobago We have been able to visit schools in those areas. In fact, very shortly, we will be journeying to Tobago so that we can meet with the Tobago House of Assembly and talk about our initiatives in the area of education.
All right.
Madam Speaker, with respect to our SEA exam, we have been able to take some decisive decisions where this is concerned. The first one was to remove that yoke that was on the shoulders of our students, and that was the continuous assessment program. We got complaints from parents, teachers, students, and the general community. We have recently decided that effective 2019, the date of the SEA will revert to the last week of the second term of the academic year. Madam Speaker, I think it is important for me to pronounce on this, simply because I saw a media release signed by the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association and the president of the National Parent Teachers Association condemning this decision. I want to make it clear.
Honorable Member, your speaking time is now spent. Leader of the House.
I want to make it clear.
Oh, he didn't realize that his speaking time was finished.
What I would expect is that next week we would all have such energy at 11 p.m. Leader of the House.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, before I move the adjournment, I would like to ask the opposition when we'll be getting the schedule for the Finance Committee, please. In about 2 hours. Thank you kindly. Not efficient at all. We should have got it already. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn to Monday, the 9th day of October at 10 a.m.
Honorable members, the question is that this House do now adjourn to Monday, 9th October 2017 at 10 a.m. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? I think the ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned to Monday, October 9th, 2017 at 10 a.m.